What's up guys, and welcome back to part 24 of this Mercedes minibus campervan conversion. So in the previous episodes, if you're new to the channel, everything's been documented in the previous 23 episodes job by job, stripping the bus completely down to a bare chassis and then building it back up to the campervan that you currently see in its current state and form. So in this episode I'm going to be concentrating on trying to get a lot of the electrics fully wired in, and all of the things like the USB charger cables, the water pump, things like that, all wired down into the fuse box as well. If I get chance and time, I'll also then try and get the split charge relay wired up, and that means that both the leisure and the van battery should never really run out of power, because while the van's on the move, the split charge will charge up the leisure batteries, and while it's parked up, the solar and the leisure batteries will charge the starter battery as well. So I've got that to fit. I've got lots of cabling to run for the 12 volt electronics, for some of the switches, the water meter, the USB chargers, things like that as well. So I'm going to go out and get some tools out, some bits and bobs ready. We'll get cracked on, see how far we get on for the day. Hopefully by the end of this day we should get most of the 12 volt stuff done. And then tomorrow, if there's time, we should start to look at some of the 240 volts, get the inverter wired up, the finishing off of the electric hookup, then as I say the split charge as well. So we'll get some tools out, some appliances out and ready, we'll get cracked on and see how far we get on for the day. Call it here for today. I've made a good start on the electronics and I'll pick it back up again tomorrow. Still plenty more to wire in, things like I've got a TV to both mount and get wired in, a few other bits and bobs as well, but it's a good start. I've managed to get both the USB for charging and the 12 volt socket in. I've got the water tank for both the fresh and the waste water. It's wired in, but obviously there's no water in the tanks, so it doesn't have anything to report back on. I've also got the gas meter wired into the LPG tank that's underneath the vehicle. This has an electronic sender on it that will give out a reading on how much gas is in the tank,
I've got this on a little switch so it can be turned on and off, but obviously because it's a brand new tank there's no gas inside it, so again nothing to show yet, but it's all wired in, that's the main thing. I've also then got a few switches in for the water pump, for the fridge down there as well, so the fridge can be turned on and off as and when needed. And I've got a switch in place ready for when the TV gets mounted in as well. I've got a lot of the cabling fed onto the 12 volt fuse box as well. So tomorrow I've still got a bit more cabling to do. I've got to tidy up some of the cabling that I've also ran, and then I'll also get the split charge relay fitted in and a few other bits and bobs as well. But as I said, time's just got away from me today. I had to nip out a few times to get some cable and a few other bits and bobs, and by the time I've got back and got everything that I've got done, as I said, time is now just starting to get away from me. So I'll pick this back up again tomorrow and try and get all of the, well, as much of the electronics finished off as I can. Right guys, so it's day 2 of this update. Yesterday I got a lot of the 12 volt in place, a lot of the switches, the water meter, the gas meter, things like that. And I managed to get most of the 12 volt wiring down onto the fuse panel as well. So today I'm going to continue with a bit more of the 12 volts, and I'm then also going to crack on and get some of the electrics for the 240 volts finished off as well. I've got the hookup point mounted in the side of the vehicle, but I haven't got any 240 volt outlets fitted in yet. And I've also got the Victron inverter there as well, so that's also going to have a couple of dedicated sockets. And then also, if I get time, I'm going to get the split charge relay wired in as well. But as I say, it's coming along quite nicely. I've got most of the stuff fitted in yesterday that I needed to. So I'm going to crack on now, get all my tools back out, some safety gear back out, and we'll get cracked on and see how much more we can get done for today. Right guys, so that's pretty much most of the 12 volts electronics all fitted in now. So I've got all this front panel in. I've also now just mounted the 12 volt TV and the light switch in the back as well. And now all the electronics are in. I've also cladded out this extra side wall as well. The TV's on a nice bracket, so that swings all the way around, and it'll either swing through to the living area at the front as well. So if you wanted to watch TV while you're cooking, anything like that, the TV can swivel around quite nicely. The only thing I've got left to do on it is to get a little rubber grommet, just something to hide that hole, because that did have to poke through the power cable that has one of those ferro rule things on them. So I'll get a little grommet just to tidy that hole up, and then that'll be pretty much all the 12 volt electrics done. So now all that's done and it's all wired into the fuse board down there, I'm now going to get the split charge relay wired in as well. Now thankfully this bus already had a large 100 amp plus cable running from the battery all the way to the rear of the vehicle, because the rear of the minibus did have a passenger wheelchair lift at the back, and the wheelchair lifts do use a lot of power, so there's a nice big chunky 100 amp cable already running the full length of the bus. And because I've taken the wheelchair ramp out, that's the cable that was going to the wheelchair lift that's just been poked back up through the hole. So half the job's already been done for me, so I don't have to now run a cable all the way through to the starter battery. That's already in place. So I just need to get that connected onto the split charge relay, which is there. Then I've got another cable going from the split charge relay ready to go onto the leisure batteries as well. So we'll get this wired in, and then we'll start looking at the 240 hookup electronics as well. Right guys, so I've pretty much finished with all the electronics for the day. As I say, I've got all of the 12 volt mounted in that wall, and then I've also gone ahead and got all of the cladding back in place, as well as fitting the TV in the position as well. And that's on a nice swing out arm, so that's fully adjustable as well. Now inside I've moved the inverter across, and I've got that secured down both to the floor and the back wall. I've got the 240 volt hookup with all of the cables in, so I've got the heater wired up to the 6 amp in there, as well as the sockets that are still to be fitted and the inverters in there as well. So everything's wired in to the hookup. I just need to now get a couple of sockets put into the walls. I'll probably put one here and maybe one in one of the kickboards under the kitchen as well. I've also got the split charge fitted in as well, but I do need to replace the main starter battery in the van because this van's been parked up for that long. The actual battery is totally shot. There was no recovering it, so once I get the replacement starter battery in place, then the split charge will, as I say, keep that fully topped up as well. So one last job for the day, because I've still got about an hour left. I'm just going to paint all of the base of the sofa bed area as well. This is all just going to get painted bright white, which will give a nice contrast against the green walls with the white base of the units. So I'll get some paint out, some paint brushes, get all this painted up, and then that'll be pretty much it for the day. Right guys, so that'll do it for this week's episode. As I say, I've got all of the 12 volt in, the 240 in, and as you've just seen, I've just also painted the base of the bed just to give it a nice white contrast against the Kiwi Crush green that's on the wall. So that's not a bad weekend's work at all. I'm quite happy and pleased with how all this is progressing so far. I'm just going to leave all this paint to dry up, obviously, because I've just finished and it's all very wet. So as I say, I'm going to call it here for now. So next week I might hopefully be able to start getting the seats in. It depends whether they arrive in time. I've got some BMW seats on order, but with it being bank holiday at the moment, I don't know whether they're going to turn up or not. So if they don't, as I say, there's still plenty of other jobs to be cracking on with. I've still got to put all the cupboard doors on the overhead lockers. I've still got to start cutting up one of the mattresses that I've got, one of the 4 mattresses, and that's going to be for the main back area as well, and that all also needs upholstering as well. So plenty more jobs still to be doing and cracking on with. So if you haven't already, consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm doing weekly updates on this conversion of how much progress I get done every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. So pop back next week, there'll be another update next Saturday. And if you haven't already, consider hitting the subscribe button below. It's totally free to do. You can always unsubscribe in the future as well. And as I say, if you made it all the way through to the end of the video, consider giving it a good old thumbs up as well. So, hope you enjoyed watching. Hopefully I'll see you next week on next week's update. And that'll do it for today. So, as I say, thanks for watching. Catch you on next week.